Hi, so we've got a number of you joining our webinar. Thank you very much for coming online and taking the time this evening to have the opportunity to work with myself and Kerry. So I'm Taya French, and the other lady that you can see is Kerry. So I'm going to be doing the admitting people into the webinar. So I'm just going to hand you over to Kerry, who's going to tell you a little bit about the journey that we've been on while I make sure I can get everybody onto the webinar. But thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Kerry from Kerry and Coaching. Yeah, during lockdown, Claire and I were actually together on Zoom, and we came up with this idea of job search wellbeing program. Just to support individuals who possibly have been made redundant from their job, or maybe they were just looking to transition their career. Claire's really experienced in recruitment and career coaching. She's worked through two recessions and the GFC, and she's worked internationally and in New Zealand. And over the last 20 years, she's helped people develop their careers despite challenging job markets. And having left her corporate life recently, she's become an ICF certified coach. She has a diploma in life coaching as well. And she volunteers at Dress for Success. So she's got a really big heart, and she's all about supporting people, as am I. So my story is that I've had quite a few career transitions in my life, and I understand the challenges that can bring. And in the last 6 years, I have had lots of changes, including I decided to study psychology and philosophy, and I got that degree, and then I trained in as a telephone counsellor for Lifeline in New Zealand, and I'm currently working there as well as doing my mindfulness coaching. So during my challenging times, I actually practiced mindfulness, and because I realised the benefits it gave me emotionally and the resilience that I got from that, I then trained to be an accredited facilitator in mindfulness. I'm really passionate about it. I really, really believe that we all need to practice it, and we all gain huge benefits. So being present and in the moment just brings us the awareness and creates the space we need to navigate our lives in a really, really healthy way. And that's where Claire and I have sort of come together and thought, gosh, we could put our skill set together and really help people navigate this precarious job market that we find ourselves in. So this is why Claire and I created Job Search Wellbeing. And it's a program that we believe is a holistic approach that we can support you actually from the inside out, really, so that you can, navigate your way through. We really believe that emotional well-being is crucial in any challenging time, but particularly if you're trying to, be successful and manage your job search journey. How are you going there, Claire? I've given them a bit of a background on us. Have you managed to let everyone in?
So those of you that have just joined us, you'll have picked up probably part of what Kerry was saying. I was just off the screen because I'm trying to admit people, and I don't want to be admitting people into the webinar and trying to talk to you at the same time, because whilst I'm female and I'd like to say I can multitask, I'm not going to say I'm very successful at it. So just bear with me. Just to take the opportunity to say, if you don't mind, we would like everybody to keep their cameras and their mics off, just on the basis of respecting the wider group in respect of creating a safe environment for individuals. So if you're not sure how to turn your camera off and you're happy being sat on, that's fine, but generally we're looking to just create that safe environment for people so that they can watch and enjoy, but without having the challenge of other people being able to see them, because we're never quite sure who's going to be on these calls, right? So that's why we're just looking to create that safe space. I've got a few people that are trying to get on, and they're obviously finding they're struggling with their connection. I've admitted them a few times, same person a few times. So if we can just give everybody a few more minutes to try and get on, then that will be great. So Kerry's been telling you about how we came together. We were actually training as coaches together through the ICF, and we're put together as mentors for each other to support to achieve our accredited status through the ICF. And from that, Kerry's experience and knowledge of mindfulness became something that I was really aware of. And as Kerry said before, because I've recruited through 2 recessions and also the GFC, I know how hard it is for people trying to find job opportunities in a challenging market. And that's not just about the job search tools that you're using. That's not just about your method. That's about your mindset. And that's why collaborating with Kerry to create Job Search Wellbeing, so that we can create a holistic approach. So supporting individuals, as Kerry said, from the inside out with that mindfulness as well as the practical tools really made sense. And that's how we came to create Job Search Wellbeing. So I'd like to thank everybody for taking the opportunity to join us this evening. And I'm just going to do a time check, which I should be able to see, right? I've got a clock behind me, so but I'm not going to turn around and look at that. So just a quick reminder, we're just asking if everybody can just turn their cameras off, just to represent the confidentiality of everybody on the call. So if you've got your camera on, if you could just please turn that off for me, that would be great. If you're not sure, it's just that normally if you hover over the bottom or the top of your screen, the camera picture will come up, and if you just click on it or press the camera button, it will turn that off for you, just so that we can create a safe space for everyone. Okay. So I am just trying to do that thing of multitasking.
You're doing a good job there, Claire.
Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so there we go. So as I said, we're just looking to create that safe space for individuals. So hence, if you had your camera on, I've just turned it off for you, just because we're looking to, you know, as coaches for Kerry and ourselves, confidentiality for clients is really important. So that's what we're looking to do. So I am just going to start now, because we're obviously a few minutes in, and hopefully everybody who's looking to attend is now on. I know I've been notified by a couple of people that they will be late. So if you see me pause at some point, it might be because I'm letting somebody into the webinar. But let's crack on and start giving you some useful information. So first of all, my name is Claire French, and I'm a career coach. Career Fit 46 is the business that I have created since, as Kerry said, leaving my corporate career in recruitment behind. And what I am looking to talk to you about today is key factors that influence your job search success. So let's start with a question. Now, one of the things I didn't say, sorry, at the start was I'm going to be asking you a few questions. Whilst I've asked for cameras and mics to be turned off, what will be really great if you would participate with me in some of the questions I have and drop your questions or your answers into the chat box. So if there's questions as we go through, please put those in the chat box. I've starting with a question for yourselves first of all though, so please drop your answer into the chat box so I can see how everybody's getting on. So the first question is, what stage in the job application process have you progressed to? So are you progressing to stage 1, i.e. you're struggling with your job loss, perhaps you've been made redundant, perhaps you are looking to try and get back to return to work having spent some time away with the children, and you're just finding it hard to find the right job, or just finding it hard to get the mindset right over starting that application process going. So if that's you, then just drop a number 1 in the chat box for me. If you're at stage 2, have you been sending your CV out and your cover letter out, but you've not yet to receive an interview? So if that's you and you're at stage 2, please just drop me a 2 in the chat box, and then at least I know you can hear me as well. Because I'm obviously the benefit of not having lots of pictures on the screens means I can concentrate on what I'm doing, but it also means that I don't know if I'm connecting with anyone. So thank you for everybody that's dropping those messages into the chat box. That's great. So we've got some stage 1s, we've got some stage 2s. Stage 3 is, have you gone to interview but you're yet to receive an offer? So if that's you, then again, please just drop me a message into the chat box so that I know that we've got some people at stage 3. We have, that's great. So we've got people at all stages, and you might find for some things you've got to stage 1 and some things you've got to stage 2, but often there's quite a common ground as to you're hitting a certain stage and finding it hard to get past it. Okay. That's great. Thank you to everyone for letting me know. That's awesome. So what does this information tell us? Well, what it tells us is that if we understand what is happening, then that's how we can then start to make change and adapt. And that's how we can improve and start to move us from stage 1 to stage 2, and from stage 2 to stage 3, and then into that all-important job offer. So if you're stuck at stage 1, then that may be something in relation to yourself that we need to look at creating change around. If you're getting to stage 2, this could be a reflection of the tools that you're using in relation to your job search method. If you're getting to stage 3, this could reference your techniques that you're utilising. So each of those stages will have a reflection of what we're achieving and the tools and how we're going about it and the impact that we're creating. So identifying change. It's really important to do this because a wise man once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Now, as job seekers, what I often find when I'm working with clients, and I work with clients at stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, what I tend to find is that they're often understandably focusing on the end result, the outcome, which is the job offer, right? And what's not happening is we're not focusing on the journey that gets us to that job opportunity, which often means what we're doing is we're repeating the same things because we're not realizing, or we're not having the opportunity to step back from the situation and go, okay, is there something I can do different? Is there improvements that I can make? Because we're so focused on the outcome, and that's understandable. You know, lots of people that I work with are in that same thought process, so it's perfectly understandable. So those of you that are at stage 1, this is what's hopefully going to be really important for you. So struggling with your job loss, or you're finding it hard to find the right job. So what are the sorts of things that this can tell us? If you're struggling with your job loss, this could be as a consequence of you've been made redundant and you're just finding it hard to come to terms with it. You could be in a situation where it's a different type of loss. It's not necessarily you've been made redundant. It could be that you have been a stay-at-home parent and you're now looking to return to work. And the loss is actually that change in situation because the children and family are no longer at home. It could be that you've stayed at home and that the children have started school. It could be that you've stayed at home and the children are now old enough and they're going off to university. And you're having to make some type of life, family or home style adjustment. So what are the symptoms or what are the indicators that we might be experiencing what is termed as job loss grief, whether that's to do with being made redundant, whether it's to do with family or personal change? What are the indicators? One of them is that you're in denial. You may be going along, going, everything's fine, you've got your blinkers on, you're not overly worried because you think everything is going to be okay. You may have decided that you don't want to interact with people and you've really pulled yourself away from friends, from family, from the community, and you're just not looking to network with people. So that is one of the indicators that you may be experiencing what's commonly known as job loss grief. Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling upset about things? Are you asking lots of why questions? Why did I lose my job? Why has this happened? Why is this happening to me? That could be something else that you're experiencing. Often what I see with the job seekers that I'm working with is they've gone into the desperation or fix-it mode. And the way that that would present itself is that you are perhaps applying for multiple jobs. You are applying for 10, 20, 30 jobs a week. It's not necessarily materializing into anything, but you keep pushing those applications out because you're trying to fix your situation. And that's understandable. All of these emotions are understandable when you've gone through some sort of change and you need that time to adjust. So that fix-it mode could be you sort of wanting to just make things better. And that's, if you've lost your job or you're trying to change and return back into work, then those are all understandable. Are you feeling low? Are you finding that you're feeling a little bit depressed about things? Now, this is a impacts of job loss grief or family or home change. So if that is the case, then my recommendation is that you seek help. There are people out there that can support you, so definitely reach out and don't be afraid to ask for help. So these different stages of job loss grief, denial, anger, desperation, depression, you might find that you go up and down between them. You might be moving between them. It's not necessarily static. You might have moved forward and then you've adjusted and things are constantly changing. But the point that we want to get to is that point of acceptance, that point where we go, I lost my job, but that wasn't anything to do with myself. That wasn't something that I could control. That wasn't a consequence of me, because in the job market that we're in the current climate across the world, and I know we've got people from around the world, so thank you for taking the time to join me, because in some countries I know it's very early in the morning, so thank you for that. It's about understanding that wasn't, accepting that wasn't to do with me. And once we get to that point of acceptance, we're then in a position to move forward, and that's when the doors of opportunities will start to open. So if we're experiencing job loss grief, what can we do to help us? Well, job loss grief, like any other type of grief, and just like a broken bone, just like a cut or a bruise, it needs time to heal. Yourself needs time to process and work through things. So allow yourself the time to do that, because that's how you can then start to move forward. And one of the key things that you can do to achieve that, and it may seem really simple, is maintaining routine. What we often find when we're working, we're used to getting up and going, we have coffee at a certain place, we park in a certain place, we get up at a certain place. We know what we're doing. We have routine and structure to our day. When we're in a situation when we're not working, or perhaps the children have gone to school and we're used to having them at home and them keeping us distracted and busy, our routine changes. So creating routine is incredibly important because it helps you maintain your focus and will help you move forward and get things going. Dealing with job loss grief is important to allow that time to process, but what I would also suggest is to put a timeline on it. Give yourself a time frame to work through how you're feeling, and then say, right, I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to give myself till this time, and then from there, I'm now going to start to take some action. I'm going to put a plan in place, and I'm going to start to move myself forward. Allowing yourself that time to process and heal is really important, but it's equally important to draw a line in the sand to then move yourself forward, because what you don't want to do is find yourself after weeks or even months still circling and trying to process what's happened. And if you're not sure how to deal with that, then reach out and talk to somebody. Talk to somebody like myself, a career coach. Talk to somebody who's involved in the employment market. Talk to people about how can I look to start to move things forward. Or if you feel that you need some professional help, then go and seek some professional help in respect of counselling or something like that, if that is what will help you work through it. Finding the right job can be a challenge. And often what we tend to find is if we've lost our job, then if we've been very involved in our work and it's been something that's really important to us, or it's something that gives us that financial security, then once that job is lost, then we can also start to lose a part of ourselves. And that can apply also if you've been a stay-at-home parent and you're now looking to return to work and you feel you've lost your identity a bit because you knew what your purpose was. Your purpose was to look after the children and to make sure that they were okay, but now they're at school or they've left home and somebody else is supporting you with that. So that loss of identity can then impact and cause us to have a loss of confidence. And with that, we start to question our skills. And because we question our skills, we tend to forget those technical and hard skills that we actually have. And we also start to undervalue some of the transferable skills that are equally as important as what employers are looking for. And that then creates some negative self-talk. And that in itself then starts to cause its own challenges. And that's why combining the practical tools that I have with what Kerry talks about in respect of the mindfulness to help manage mindset becomes so important, because that self-questioning or that negative self-talk can be really impacting and damaging for us. And what that can result in is we actually stop applying altogether. And we let go of the rope and we go, I just can't do this anymore. I just can't get through. I'm just going to have to stop. I'm just going to give up. Again, why that mindfulness is really important, because it gives us that strength and that resilience. And it enables us to really make sure that we are doing what we need to be doing. We're not just jumping back. We're not just getting back up. We're actually jumping up and we're jumping forward. And Kerry's going to talk to you about the importance and the value of resilience and how mindfulness can facilitate that. So in respect of developing your confidence and focus from a practical point of view, one of the key things you can do is talk through with people what you really want to do. Let's get to the bottom of what your hard and technical skills are, and let's talk about what your transferable skills are. And one of the best things for me as a career coach is really connecting with clients on this and helping them see all that they have to offer, because often when we're in a certain situation, we can forget, we lose sight of who we are, we lose sight of the skills. And this is, for me, is one of the great privileges of career coach, is being able to reconnect people with their capability. What's also really helpful for building your confidence and your focus is connecting with other people that will give you a positive mindset. So that's people who remind you of your achievements, remind you how capable you are, remind you of all the things that you have to offer. So connect with those people and reach out to them. That might be talking to them on that old-fashioned thing called the phone. It might be going out and meeting them for a coffee if you can, obviously COVID allowing, but making sure that you're connecting with people that build you up. Make a list of your skills and your achievements as well. When somebody comes to me and tells me that they've been made redundant or they're transitioning through a different stage in their life, they've been at home and they're now looking to return to work, one of the key things I recommend is for them to make a list of their skills and their achievements. Because often when we're away from the workplace or things start to change, that routine changes, we often forget the things that we're capable of. So making a list and popping it up on the fridge is a really good way to remind yourself. It keeps you positive and it keeps you focused on what you can actually do. And also that resilience and self-care, which Kerry's going to talk to you about, but that looking after yourself and being mindful of who you are and how you're feeling at any point in time. So stage 2, before I move on, so that was stage 1. So people that were experiencing challenges in stage 1, there's obviously more information in when I go through things on a one-on-one basis with individuals, but hopefully that's given you some ideas and thoughts as to what might be holding you back at this current stage. So stage 2, people, your tools. What am I talking about when I'm referring to your tools? Well, what I'm talking about is your CV, your cover letter, and also your job search methods. So you've sent those, you've sent your CV, you've sent your cover letter, but you've not got to an interview yet. And I know some of you thankfully dropped into the box to say, yeah, I'm at stage 2. So if I'm connecting with anybody at the moment, if there's stage 1 guys, if I've connected with you and you think, yeah, some of that makes sense, just drop me a thumbs up or a yes into the chat box. Give me some encouragement to keep going so that I know that I'm working with you effectively. So looking at that stage 2, your CV, does it create impact and does it align with the job opportunity? And is your CV ATS compliant? Now, these are really key factors. So creating impact with your CV in a challenging market has never been so important. Making sure that it's aligning with what the employer is looking for, and ATS. Now, ATS is a huge subject in itself. I've written an entire worksheet on ATS, Applicant Tracking System. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but it's essentially a robot that determines, is your CV going to reach human eyes? Now, not all employers use them. There is no data at this current time as to how many employers in New Zealand do use ATS, but I am doing my own research. And what I'm finding so far is that larger organisations and government organisations do tend to use ATS-based systems. And there's a certain format that you need to work with in order to get past that bot, for you to get into seeing somebody directly, for them, a human being, to actually see your CV. The good news is that if it's an ATS formatting challenge for your CV, that's changeable. It means that it's easily solvable. So what does your CV tell employers as well? What's interesting for me when I'm working with people is they will often say they want their CV to tell the employer this and this and this, but does that actually give the employer what they need to know? Because we might want to tell them that we have this qualification or we have experience on this, but is that what the employer needs to know? We need to make sure that we're telling employers what they want to know. So in order to improve this, how can we make sure our CV has impact? We create a job type CV. So let me use the example of you've had experience in financial control, customer service, and administration. So you've got 3 core skill sets and 3 types of job opportunities that you can look at. If your CV is, if you're using the same CV for every one of those job types, then the potential is that you're not highlighting and matching the key skills for each job. So you want to have a look at, what does the financial controller job role need? What does the advert tell me? What is in the responsibilities? What is the key skill set? Is my CV highlighting those? So you need 3 CVs, 1 for financial control, 1 for administration, and 1 for customer service. Now, there may be some overlap with transferable skills, and there may be some overlap with technical skills, but what we want to make sure is we're really aligning our skill set to what the company wants, because that's what we need to tell them. Using the same CV for every one of those job types means you're missing an opportunity to promote yourself. And if you're including everything, then the risk is your CV is too long, and then it doesn't create impact, so then employers don't look at it as well. Okay, so in respect of the evidence experience with SAR statements. Now, what do I mean by that? SAR statements are situation, action, result. So our CV needs to be impactful. It needs to explain to an employer what we do, how we do it, and what the outcome is. So that's what a SAR statement is. It explains the situation or the problem that you've solved. It demonstrates the action that you took, and then it outlines the result. So instead of saying I managed a team, you'd say I managed a team of 3 individuals working within the construction recruitment sector and achieved 120% of financial target 3 years running. So you'd give what the situation was, what your action was, and what your outcomes were. The outcomes are really key. That is how your CV will create impact, and it will stand out from other applications. Now, in respect of your cover letter, again, is your cover letter generic? Are you using the same type of cover letter for every application, or is it memorable? Does it stand out? If you are using the same cover letter as you're using the same CV, the risk is that you're missing that opportunity to connect with keywords within the CV. You're not going to get past the ATS bot, and your cover letter, if read, is not going to resonate or connect with the employer. So does your cover letter add value to your CV application, what you've got in your CV, or does it simply repeat what is already there? If the answer is it repeats, then we're missing an opportunity to really express an interest in the job opportunity, to let the company know this is the reason why I'm applying for the job. I'm interested in your opportunity, because really connecting with the employee is key, because if you don't, then you just become the same as everybody else. So your cover letter needs to add value. It needs to make sure that the employer sees that you're interested in their job, not just a job. Quick one in respect of professional profiles, make sure that you're completing those and you're checking your settings. So if you're using a Seek profile, make sure you've filled it out. It's essentially an online CV, as is your LinkedIn profile. If you're not completing that and maximizing the content, then that means that you're missing an opportunity to be found and searched by recruiters. So make sure that you're completing those properly. With your social media, check your settings. Because if a employer searches you and puts your name into Google and searches, then they can find all sorts of information. We don't have control over that, because they can do that at any point in time. So make sure that your private settings are correct, so that you are only allowing potential employers to see what you want them to see. Now, job search methods, what avenues are you using? So if you could please, in the chat box, and thanks for everybody who just let me know that I was resonating with them. That's great. Thank you for the encouragement. So are you using multiple methods? If you're using multiple job search methods, please just drop a M into the chat box so that I know. If you're using one method, such as job adverts, then again, just drop an S, a single method, or if you're using multiple methods, that would be great. And then I know what sort of experience people are having. So yeah, some of you using multiple methods, that's awesome. So a couple of you using single methods. Okay, great. So in respect of the methods that you're using, are you making sure that you are connecting with as many people as possible? Are you sharing and letting people know that you are looking for an opportunity? Are you telling people and asking for recommendations? Are you looking at different types of job opportunities? Are you making sure that you're not just looking at your ideal scenario, but you're also looking at potentially bridging jobs which bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be? Are you open to casual or temporary opportunities? Now, if you are just focusing on that ideal job, which I fully understand, you could be missing the opportunity with a bridging job to upskill or learn something completely different, but also to enhance your network. So making sure that you're being open-minded about your job search methods is really important, as is making sure that you're telling people that you're looking. So what are the methods that are available to you? Well, as a recruiter, I would not be reliant on adverts. I would be going to companies directly, but how do we do that? Let's think about adverts as multi-dimensional. So I'm no doubt many of you will be aware of Seek and Trade Me here in the UK. In the UK, where I haven't lived in the UK for 6.5 years. Where did that come from? My apologies. Aware of Trade Me and Seek in New Zealand. So they are job boards, right? So you go onto Seek, and what you do is, instead of filling out that first box where it wants you to put in the job role that you're looking at, you look at the industry sectors. So that's useful if you're not quite sure what type of job you want or what industry. If you're looking to transition or change, then use the drop down box, because it will give you all the key industries. It will tell you what the opportunities, different types of industries are. That can be helpful to decipher where do I want to work as an industry sector. When you're looking for a job, use the drop down box. Pick the industry that you're looking at. Leave that first box empty. In the second box, put your location and press search, Seek, okay, on Seek. And what then happens is it will, in the current market, it will probably generate around 30, maybe 40 jobs, okay? So what you want to then do is have a look through all of those jobs. By leaving that first box empty, what you've done is avoided missing jobs that don't have a traditional method, a traditional job title, okay? So if you're looking at a financial controller job, then you are giving yourself the opportunity to find the job that somebody's called financial manager or financial guru or money manager or money guru, because sometimes companies will create job titles to make a position sound more exciting and interesting. So if you're putting in financial controller, the risk is it will miss that opportunity. So by leaving that first box empty, you're going to find all of the jobs in that particular sector. And my recommendation is don't tick particular ones. Leave the whole industry, accounting, construction, hospitality, whatever it might be. Look at the whole lot. There's not enough jobs in the job market at the moment really for you to worry about it. And it might come up with 35 jobs. What we then want to do is have a look through and not just look at the job, we want to look at the company. So you might read an advert and go, I can't do that job that they're advertising, but that is a company I would be interested in. So what you then do is go from the advert into the company website, and you have a look in the company website and see, are they advertising any of the jobs in the company website? Because not all companies will put all jobs on Seek or Trade Me, because they have to pay for that. So they might put a particular job on there, one that's harder to fill, and they advertise their others on the website. So check out the website. But not just that. While we're in the website, what we want to do is we want to have a look at the team. Who is listed within that company? Who is there identified as a hiring manager? Who is there identified as HR? Is that information on the advert? Because the third step is what I would have done as a recruiter is to approach that company directly. And we take a proactive approach. Proactive approach, as opposed to advert response, means instead of being one of 178, 313, 422, these are numbers that people are telling me they are, how many applications they are one of when they're applying through an advert, you then become potentially one of one. By speaking to that company directly and saying to them, I've read about your company, I noticed you were looking for somebody in X, my experience sits in Y, but have you got any opportunities? Is there anything that's coming up that I could potentially be suitable for? Can I please send you my CV? That proactive approach and direct application means that you can then find the hidden jobs. The other way to find hidden jobs and find other companies is doing a Google search for a company, type of company, straight into Google and searching that for based on the geographical area. Okay, I need to move on because Kerry's going to tell me off for talking too much, which is what I normally do. So make sure if you're applying for a job advert through an advert application, is there somebody that you know within that company? Can they recommend you? Can they get your CV seen? Use that avenue to make sure that you're maximising on it. And don't forget that job hunting today is a marathon. It's not a sprint. There are multiple ways for you to job search. And I've covered this within the job search strategies of the job search wellbeing programs. Too much for me to go through now, but hopefully that's given you some more ideas. And also resilience at this stage is key, which is what Kerry will talk to you about, to make sure that you can get through. So stage 3, moving on, hopefully stage 2, if you were stuck at stage 2, give me a yes if that was helpful. And I'm going to keep going on to stage 3. Drop me a yes into the chat box just to give me some encouragement to keep going on. So stage 3 to do with your technique. So stage 2 is your tools, your CV, your cover letter and your job search methods. Stage 3 is your technique. So how are you getting on in your interview? You've done an interview, but you've not got to that offer stage yet. That's really frustrating because you've got stage 1 and stage 2 right. Thank you for dropping me those messages, but you've not got that all important offer. So have you prepared? Are you prepared for the interview, and have you prepared? Are you providing answers that represent the best version of you? And most importantly as well, are you showing up? So these are key questions that you need to ask yourself before you're attending your interview. So what can we do that will help? We can research and prepare. Now, what I mean by research and prepare is that we're not just looking at researching the company. We want to make sure that we are looking into the individual. So one of the job search methods I didn't mention was LinkedIn. Obviously, LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. That's how I've connected with a good portion of you attending today. So you're well aware of LinkedIn's very, very powerful tool. So use LinkedIn to have a look at what you can find out about the company. They will be posting, they may have articles about the individual that you're going to be meeting, so that you can have a look at their background. Have they come from a similar training and transition background from yourself? Does that give you some common ground? It helps you see what the career pathway is. A key factor when you are preparing for your interview is to know your own CV. Yes, you can practice certain questions and you can be prepared for tell me about yourself. You can be prepared for what is the reason you applied for this role. You can be prepared for tell me about your weaknesses. But really knowing your own CV and how your skills align with the job opportunity. So coming back to the advert, quick remember thing to advise you of, if you're applying for a job through an advert, cut and paste that into a Word document and save it, because employers are cutting those really quickly because they're getting so many ad responses. So if you think you're going to go back into Seek 10 days later and find that advert to remind yourself, it could be gone. So cut and paste it every time, save it. So coming back to, how does your experience align with what they're looking for? So have a look at that job advert. What are the skills they've asked for? What are the technical capabilities? What are the transferable skills? And highlight them. And then think about your own experience. What is the experience that I have that they are looking for, and what are the examples I can provide for that? So what are the examples of when I demonstrated particular capability in a certain field? So have a look at the advert, what are they asking for, and know your own experience, know your own capabilities, and be able to talk about them. Practicing talking about your experience is essential. So whether you're bathing the kids, whether you're walking the dog, practice talking out loud. And you use a method called, I call it STAR plus L. So situation, task, action, result. And my L, because STAR is a traditional method, L is learn. So talk about the situation, the task, the action, and the result, and then throw in that L to add in what did you learn through the process. And by doing that, what you've then done is you've demonstrated and evidenced your experience. So STAR within your CV, evidence is your experience. STAR plus L, evidence is your experience in interview. But practice talking about it. Don't just read it, practice talking about it. Get used to hearing yourself talk about your own experience, because that's often where people come unstuck. And Kerry's going to talk to you about the importance of mindfulness before an interview and how powerful and useful that can be. So give yourself that time to practice and work through things. Now, when you do come to the point of interview, taking that moment to breathe, unlike I've done all the way through this, and give yourself the best chance to present you so that you can have a really positive mindset and go into that interview feeling focused. That's what's important. Because if we don't go into that interview just feeling comfortable, being present, and having that confidence that we know our own experience and we've been reading through that and we're now ready, then that's when we're going to have all that information jumbling through our head, and we're not going to be able to answer the questions as effectively. Our nerves are going to overrun us, and we're not going to give those clients, those potential employers, the best version of ourselves. So before your interview, it's really important that you take that time to focus and give yourself the opportunity to have the right mindset. And on that, I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn the light on because somebody suddenly outside turned the lights off on me, so apologies for that. I wasn't expecting it to go so dark so quickly. So I'm going to hand you over to Kerry. Thank you very much for listening to me. I really appreciate that chance to talk to you and share some of my experience, and wish you all the very best, and I will be back with you shortly. Thank you.
Hi, thanks Claire. Good luck with those lights, it has got dark there. So I'm Kerry from Kerry & Coaching, which I'm sure you've gathered by now. Talking to you about the importance of mindfulness or mindset. I think before we do that, it's probably really good to define what mindfulness actually is. It's not that easy to define, but John Kabat-Zinn has defined it quite well as far as I'm concerned. He's quite interesting. He's a medical doctor. He's a heart surgeon in the US. He's been practicing mindfulness for about 50 years. And if people ask him what's the best thing they can do for their health and their longevity, he answers practice mindfulness. He doesn't say exercise more or stop eating sugar. He that his answer is practice mindfulness, and he's a medical professional. So I interesting guy. You should look him up. Actually, there's lots of YouTube and TED Talks and things. But he says mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So mindfulness is about being present. We spend a lot of our time living in the past, ruminating, wondering if things could have gone better, or worrying about things that have gone by. And alternatively, in the future, where we worry about all the what ifs, which can create quite a lot of anxiety. So it's about learning to train ourselves to come back to the present moment, because the present moment's the only moment we have. It's the only moment we can influence, because it's the only moment we're in. So it's very, very important to know how to do this, and it creates this incredible space to be resilient and to know yourself and make good decisions. So the foundational principles of mindfulness are accepting, non-judging, kindness and compassion. And it really starts with yourself. It's a bit of an inside job, and there's no right or wrong. So that is what mindfulness is. When we teach mindfulness, it's very much an experiential process. We have tools and we practice things. We practice by doing in order to create a way of being. And some of the doing things are, you get taken through guided mindful meditations, and these really do support you to become resilient. Journaling's another one. It's something that you're encouraged to do, because you can explore your feelings. So Claire was talking about job loss grief. Things like that become manageable because you're exploring them and you're safe. You feel safe to explore them. And mindfulness teaches us not to avoid emotions that we judge to be bad. First of all, it teaches us to accept and not judge them good or bad anyway. But basically, all emotions are welcome. And if we turn towards them and explore them and we understand them, it's from that place that we can then heal and move on. So mindfulness is very good for this, and journaling's a particularly good one. And discussion's the other thing. It's a bit like brainstorming. It supports our need as human beings to process difficulties. I've written there, but it's not only difficulties, it's to process life. We get bombarded with life, multiple things all the time. So this creates this calm within us, and that's how we do it. And it's good to be doing these things regularly. So what are the benefits? Well, the benefits are huge, actually, especially when you're looking for a job role or trying to develop your career in a pretty challenging market. Research has backed up the fact that it improves mental and physical well-being. So that's really good. Everybody needs that, right? Mindfulness allows us to create awareness, and it starts with self-awareness, but that radiates out to awareness about all sorts of things and others, but particularly around how we talk to ourselves. Now Claire mentioned that. If we've got that self-awareness through this mindful meditation and everything, what we often find is we realise that actually we don't talk to ourselves very nicely. And, we don't respect ourselves in the way we would a good friend or something like that. So with that awareness, we go, oh, that's really negative, that self-talk. So we can then change it. We can go, oh, hang on a minute, actually I need to be kind and compassionate with myself. So instead of saying, for instance, if you have sent out multiple CVs and you're not getting a response, instead of your self-talk being, I'm not good enough, you notice and you can go, well, actually, is that true? And instead you could say, well, no, this is a tough market. I've got good skills. I'm going to keep trying, and I can come up with different ways. And again, referring to Claire's her presentation a minute ago. That kind of like, there are multiple ways of looking for a job. Let's just try another one, and just, it helps us remain resilient instead of giving up because of our negative self-talk. We've created this space through our practice of mindfulness to respond rather than react, notice what's going on, and almost take, I don't like the word control, but it is like taking control or training ourselves to be in a more positive mindset. And we get a chance to be real. You know, this space that we create ourselves, this quiet space when we sit with ourselves, we start to respond in alignment with our true values because we know what they are. We spent time with ourselves quietly. We actually know what they are. And this reduces anxiety because we know what we want. We know who we are. We know we're not trying to worry about the what ifs in the future. We understand that we can just influence the moment we're in. A really useful tool, particularly while you're waiting for your interview, right? I mean, who gets nervous when they're waiting for interviews? Pop it in the chat box if you do. I'm somebody who gets terribly nervous if I'm being interviewed, especially if they start running late. And a really, really great tool is to use this pause method, which is an acronym, and P is literally pause for stop, and focus on your breathing. You've always got your breath with you. It's the only tool you need to just have a mindful little mini meditation or a pause. Focus on your breathing. The A is for accept. Accept whatever experience you're having. It's a foundational principle. Just accept it. Don't judge it. It just is what it is. Breathe through it. The U is for you. Check in on yourself. Are your shoulders tight? Are they up around your ears? Drop them down. Maybe take an extra deep breath. Maybe you're not, you might be breathing a little bit shallowly if you're feeling nervous. What's your body temperature like? Are you sitting comfortably? Just notice where you're at and be compassionate. Just change a few things and then sigh and smile. Now, this might sound a little bit silly, but on that lovely outward breath of a sigh, if you just do a little smile, your body will release endorphins. So you get a little endorphin hit. It's a feel-good hormone. You just have to do it quietly to yourself. You don't have to sort of grin and be too overt about it. And at that point, the E is for engage, and you're ready to engage with clarity and authenticity. Absolutely know what you want to say. You've got a calm, clear headspace. You're not going to forget half the things that you wanted to say in the interview. You're authentically you. You know what you want from them. You know what you have to give them to the job role. And they will sense that. People know. They feel it. And that will give your interviewers confidence in you too. So the importance of having the right mindset in the current environment, well, obviously it's really, really important with the COVID pandemic. We're in very uncertain times, so we can't emphasise that enough. And also, I think Claire said, it was like a marathon. It's not like a sprint when you're job searching. So it's important to be really, really resilient. And the mindfulness practice gives us the space to focus on our inner selves in order to create this resilience. And it allows us to show up and bring our authentic self to the interviews and effectively answer the questions that are put to us. And it's so much nicer being able to manage it this way, right? We all know we like to feel like we've got our feet on the ground and we understand and we're not too stressed. So, and the most exciting thing as far as I'm concerned is having the right mindset and practicing mindfulness means that we stay open to future possibilities as yet unimagined. And it's really exciting. So there's lots of doors out there that you can't imagine that are going to open for you. You don't know they're there yet, but they are there. And when you've got the right mindset, you're able to be grounded enough and open enough and less stressed enough to notice the doors there. Sometimes if you're too stressed, you don't even notice the doors there, so you don't even knock on it, you don't even look through it. So this is you're in this mindset where you can notice, and you know your values, you know yourself, you know what you have to offer, you know what you want. So you might look through the door and you can very quickly decide that aligns with me, my values and purpose, or it doesn't. You either walk through it or you walk on, but it's no big deal. But if you choose to walk through it, it can be incredibly exciting because it was unimagined. You're off on this new tangent and it really is in alignment with you, and you're just like, wow. And I experienced this. That's why I get so excited, because I went to uni in my mid-50s, which I said at the beginning, but some of you weren't on here, and I had huge life changes on multiple levels and was using mindfulness through my journey to manage myself, really. And it was really, really valuable. And I didn't know why I was doing my psychology degree, but these chance conversations opened up unimagined doors. And I literally found these jobs, a couple of them, coaching, mindfulness training, lifeline counsellor, which really resonate with me. And I found there's just so many good things, and my life just took off. And these were unimagined possibilities for me. So I'm quite passionate about that, as you can see. Yeah, so working with the practical skills and also on yourself with these mindset or mindfulness skills are really, really important moving forward to get you through this marathon. And we believe this job search wellbeing program that we've designed supports you to develop these skills and resilience you need on your job search journey. This client feedback I'm not going to read out to you. It just might be, we're going to send this actually, I think, Claire, aren't we, as a PDF at the end of this session tonight. So you can have a read then. It might be interesting for you to see how some of my clients have experienced some mindfulness training and coaching with me. And I think I'm going to hand back to Claire, and she is going to actually run you through our program. Thank you very much for listening to me, by the way. And I'll hand back to Claire.
I'm pleased to say I now have light. I have paid my electricity bill, so sorry about that. I did not think about the fact it would get so dark, so apologies that it all got a little bit strange with the screen there. So, yeah, so Kerry and I have developed a job search wellbeing program, and basically some of what we've talked to you about this evening gives you a taster of the areas that we've covered within the program. You can see on the screen that there's essentially 9 sets of videos. So each set you get a video from myself in relation to practical tools in relation to developing your job search or your career, and then you get a mindfulness video from Kerry as well to support that. And there's also worksheets, templates, and lots of other useful information. Now, those you can purchase those through the Career Fit 46 website. If you buy multiple videos, then you get a discount. And if you want to buy all of them and also benefit from one-on-one coaching, we also have a subscription option available where you can subscribe for monthly coaching, which gives you ongoing support, whether that be to do with your job search, family situation, or anything, just reconnecting with yourself to redevelop your confidence. And that includes 2 sessions per month. You can add additional sessions if you wish, and those sessions can either be 2 with myself or 2 with Kerry. It's up to you to choose. So we'll just leave that there just to make you aware of what we have on offer if you would like to explore further support from myself and Kerry. And I have had a couple of questions come through which I'm going to answer as well. So if anybody's got any questions before you drop out of the webinar, please do drop those into the chat box and I will look to get to those. So the first question was about how do we answer the question to deal with when somebody asks us about our weaknesses. I'd like to think that there's not that many employers asking this question, but apparently clients that I'm talking to tell me that there are. So what I'd like to say is turn the question on its head and think of it as, what are the areas you would like to improve? So if somebody said to you, what are the areas you would like to improve, as opposed to what are your weaknesses, that starts to get you to think, well, and for myself, one of the areas I would like to improve is my IT capability. So if somebody said to me, Claire, what are your weaknesses? I would say one of the areas I would be looking to improve is my IT capability. So I've had some experience with certain databases, but Excel is something that's always an area that I found challenging. So what I've started to do is, because I recognise that that is an area for development, I've started to watch some YouTube videos and I've read some research on it, and I try and practice that as much as I can. But I do know that that's an area that is something I need to improve on. So what I've said is I'm acknowledging that I have a weakness, because we all have them. None of us are perfect. So sometimes it feels like a trick question. Are they just trying to find out what's wrong with me? We all have weaknesses. None of us are perfect. But if we think about it as an area to improve and then talk about what we've tried to do about it. So what that then demonstrates is I acknowledge I've got a weakness or an area for development, i.e. I understand I'm not perfect, but you've also then said this is what I'm looking to do, and this is how I'm trying to learn and improve that. Because that's what an employer wants to see. They don't expect anybody to be perfect, but what they want to know is, are you somebody that's willing to learn? Are you looking to continually upskill yourself? And can you acknowledge that there are areas that you're not quite perfect on? So that is how I would go about acknowledging that. Now, the other question, I've got a few questions coming through now, so just bear with me 1 second. So one of the other questions was, somebody had a specific area to do with not having a particular license that was needed in order to get the job. Now, if you have all the other areas, you're ticking a number of those other boxes, and that is the one thing that's holding you back, then I would say get a bridging job, get a casual job, get a temporary job while you look to achieve that license, so that you can then start to reapply. What I'd also say is I would contact those people if the license is their particular challenge and say to them, I'm currently on this type of license. My plan is to be on a full license within this time frame. There is in New Zealand, there is what's it called, Kerry? The advanced driving course that you can do that actually reduces the time frame for you to be on a restricted license. So that takes, don't quote me because my memory is not 100%, but I think it takes 6 months. So it takes you from 18 months down to 12. So if you're near to the time frame, let them know when you are on a full license. Answer that question for them and say, I'm not now. If it's a month away or a couple of months away, is there any chance, is there any opportunity for me to be considered in the future, or for that position to still be, for me to still be considered for this role? Because a lot of companies with lead-in and notice periods, it can take 6 to 8 weeks to get somebody on board anyway. So if you're fairly near, then that might not be too much of an issue. If you've just got it and you're essentially at best case 12 months away, then recontact the employer when you're closer to that time frame of achieving it. Do a temporary, casual or bridging job in the meantime. to gain some experience, upskill in other areas, and then recontact the employer and say, I'm now close to getting my, my full license. Is there any opportunities that you have? And take that proactive approach. Question, what, yeah, done that. What are your weaknesses? Just bear with me as I'm reading through this. How important is a cover letter? Sorry, I'm laughing because in my video, in the, where is it? The cover letter, I can't see it because I've got a box up here. Video 6. So in video 6, when I say cover letters, how important are they? They're really important. They are hugely important. I talk to HR people and hiring managers, and they will say, you know, for them, the cover letter can be the biggest, it can be the key difference between why they interview somebody or not. So, you're saying recruiters don't even bother reading them. No, I'll be honest, when I was a recruiter, it wasn't very often I would read a cover letter. But if you're applying directly to a company, then they will read the letters, because that gives them a demonstration of your ability to, your command of the English language. Why are you interested in applying for their job? What is it about their company that you're potentially interested in? What can you tell them that makes you stand out? Because your CV is often a very standard piece of information. If you think about 3 or 4 other people who have all had a similar type of background or experience to yourself, this is why using SAR statements are really important in your CV, because that will help you demonstrate how your personal achievements and create that point of difference. But in your cover letter, if your cover letter is generic, then it's not going to stand out. But it's a really powerful tool to speak to the employer directly. If you're saying to them, dear Mr. Simon Sinek, I have seen you on LinkedIn. I think you're absolutely amazing. I noticed you've got a role within your training team. I've had experience in this, and I would be absolutely find it such a good opportunity for me to be able to have an opportunity to work and develop with somebody like yourself. You know, a company of such high profile, a company who values quality, a company who's customer focused. Find, through your research of the company, find how your value, your personality connects with the value of the company. And then when you're doing that, that is when the cover letter becomes really powerful, because you're saying to them, this is how we match. You're confirming that there's a match between you and that company. And if we can't, we can demonstrate that in our CV to an extent with those transferable and technical skills, but your personality wants to shine within your cover letter. So yeah, you're right. Recruiters won't tend to read them. That's why your CV's got to be really impactful. But if you're applying direct to companies through an advert, or you're being proactive, slightly different cover letter for a proactive job search approach. So make sure that you're, again, adjusting that. Just reading the next question. If manage project managers at the same time, if you found one opportunity that not belonged to any of an ideal employer, can you do well? What should I do? Okay, so if you're applying for jobs that you're looking at jobs within a particular sector, is what this is saying, looking at jobs within the ICT sector, but then you found a job opportunity that isn't within that, but they're the ideal employer. Can you do well? What should I do? So this is where, again, the cover letter becomes really important, because if you're applying for a job role that you think, I've got the skills to do this, but if you look at my CV says, maybe not. then the cover letter bridges that gap. The cover letter gives you the opportunity to say, the reason I'm applying for this role, or the skills that I have, based on what you're looking for, this is how I match those skills. So I'm interested in your role because, so this is why I want to work for your company. This is why I think you're amazing. This is how we match within our culture, your culture and my personality. But then you also want to say the skills that you're looking for, I've demonstrated in this. So you want to tell them what it is that brings you to the table and what is the reason you wanted that particular role, particularly if you have extensive or you have experience in another area. So if you're transitioning your career, that's again when the cover letter becomes really important. But also have a look at your CV, have a look at the job skills that are needed, the technical skills and the transferable skills in the job advert, and have a look at your own experience and go, well, hang on a minute, does some of that transition over? Does it align? Is there some of the skills that I actually have that if you put that in a different, slightly frame it slightly different, it's actually the same thing. So it's like when people are using different language and they're using connecting, socializing and networking. They're essentially all the same thing, but some companies will describe it networking, some will say connecting, some might use the word socializing. So just have a look at the language and break down what are they actually asking for, because you may have more skills for that job role than you realize, and then it's just a case of really highlighting them in your CV. If that helps, just drop me a yes. Okay. How can you stand out from job interview by transferable skills that not share the same job titles from your CV? Okay, so I've potentially answered that just now in respect of it. Focus on those transferable skills. So communication, time management, critical thinking, problem solving, emotional intelligence, communication, they are key transferable skills that employers are looking for. Within the video 3, I highlight what the transferable skills are, the top 7 that employers are looking for, and also what multiple different types of transferable skills are and how we can align those. So you want to make sure that you are aligning what the skills are that you do have. As females, we often don't apply for a role unless we meet 8 out of 10 of the criteria. I know we have some males watching, no offense males. Men will apply if they've got 3 out of the 10. Women, we think we have to have all the skills. So if you've got some of the skills, really highlight the skills that you have got. And again, in your cover letter, you can say, one of the reasons I'm interested in applying for this job role is because I can develop the skill of, because this is a part of the role that you're looking for somebody to do. So that gives you that opportunity to connect and identify, but it also means that you are really wanting to highlight what you have got. Highlight what you have got, because the rest you can learn. If it's a technical skill, you can learn. If it's a transferable skill, you can pick it up. How can you get a job referral or recommendation through networking strangers? Ask them. Just tell them, I have experience in X. I'm looking for a new opportunity. You haven't happened to, is there any companies you know that operate within that field? If you can use LinkedIn to specifically target people within that certain field. But if you're, even at a barbecue or social, I know we can't do them. Keep that in mind, Claire, COVID. But even if you're in a barbecue and there's less than 10 people there, that's 9 people that you may not know, okay? So if you spoke to every one of those 9 people and said to them, I have experience in such and such, do you know any companies within that field? The chances are you're going to come away from that barbecue with some sort of knowledge. So the key is about asking people and just saying to them, I'd really value your opinion. You look like somebody, to find out about them, ask them about themselves, ask them about their experience, and then say to them, you've seen somebody that's got a good career, you've developed, you've obviously gained progression. I'm just wondering if I could ask your opinion. How are you aware of any companies in this field? Because they might work in IT, but IT companies transition across hundreds of industries. So they might be an IT specialist, but they might work with companies who are in health, in construction, in education, in accounting. They transition, their clients transition multiple industries. So we don't know what people know or how they can help us until we ask them. So it's really important to ask them the question. How long should a cover letter be? I've got lots of questions, so I need to stop talking and get through this. Sorry, guys. Just trying to be as helpful as I can. So how long should a cover letter be? No more than 1 page. Ideally finish just above the bottom of 1 page, sort of 2-3 quarters at max. On the cover letter video set, there is actually some examples and a template on that, so that will give you for a whole $45 you've got lots of information about that, and you get Kerry's information as well, and you get some examples, but you're looking at about 3/4 of a page. How can we explain gaps? Just be honest about it. If you have if you've been traveling, or you've been a stay-at-home parent, or you've took the opportunity to upskill yourself, I wouldn't recommend you say, well, I've spent the last year sitting on my bottom doing nothing. That's not the ideal way to explain a gap, but it might be that you've took the opportunity to retrain, that you've studied, that you have put yourself through a mindfulness course. It might be that you've decided to reskill. So in order to, you're looking to transition your career. So in order to do that, you've been researching, you've been developing, you've been training, you've been attending courses so that you could do that. So give them something valuable that says, whilst I've had a gap, I've done something useful with it. So, during COVID, when people are in lockdown, I put a video out about don't just sit at home. I know it's difficult and it's challenging times, but don't just sit at home. Take that opportunity to upskill. Talking to an employee the other day, he said, if you don't want to be made redundant, look at upskilling yourself. Make yourself as indispensable as possible. Make sure that you're constantly looking to improve and upskill yourself, because those are the people we're going to keep. So doing that is valuable whether you're in employment or looking for employment. What are the questions? Got to go. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me. Putting photograph on CV. No photographs, please. Sorry, that was a very quick, short, sharp answer, wasn't it? Sorry about that. But no. The reason for photographs is a no is it can generate unconscious bias. So I have not spoken to any HR people who say, yeah, I'd like to see a photograph. They actually actively recommend not to include a photograph. If your CV is going through ATS, ATS doesn't like photographs. So that could put you straight in the reject bin. So I didn't want to go too much into ATS because it's a really big subject, and I'm happy to go into that if anybody wants to book a one-on-one consultation and talk about that specifically, because it is a really big topic. Or you can obviously purchase the video that talks about it as well, and that also gives you a rundown, gives you an ATS CV template, and it also gives you action verbs, which I didn't mention. Action verbs are really powerful to use in conjunction with the STAR process. But no, I understand that it can feel like that personal touch, but in New Zealand, companies are not looking for to see a photograph. I'm hoping I have answered everybody's questions. If I haven't, if you want to just drop it in again now, I can then go back to it. But I think I have answered everybody's questions, which has been great. Thank you so much for asking really useful questions, because it's really hard to try and cover off lots of information in a short amount of time. If that has been useful for you, then please do drop myself and Kerry a thumbs up, because it's quite hard for us, you know, we're women of a certain age, we're not used to sitting doing these things. So we appreciate the support. One person said thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
We lost everybody else.
But they will go.
So no, I'm just kidding. So hopefully that's been useful for you. You've got access to the videos. You've got access to myself and Kerry. If you've got any other questions, please do feel free to drop us an email. We are open, available for one-on-one consultation, as well as obviously the videos. But we really appreciate you all joining, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our insights. And if you've got any feedback on how to improve, like make sure you pay your electric bill, Claire, then please do drop me an email with that feedback, because we're always looking for continuous improvement ourselves. So thank you very much, and we'll sign off and say have a good rest of your evening. And for those in the UK who've got up early to join us, thanks very much for doing that, and have a good rest of your day. Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye everyone. Thank you.